Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? All right. Thank you, Isha, for playing the music in the interim. Praise the Most High Yah. Today we're going to continue in our study of Zechariah chapter 14. And we'll be going through some scriptures as we normally do in preparation for that. But before we do that, let's seek our Father in heaven for guidance in... Oh, sorry. That's right. I got to turn it up. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know, Isha. I got to turn the sound on. You should hear it now. You should hear it now. Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a word of prayer so we can get started. We're going to be doing the 3 scriptures this morning. Isha, thank you. Most High Yahweh. Again, we are very grateful and thankful that you woke us up today, and especially to study a word and to fellowship even in this form. We ask that your name be glorified. In the name of the Messiah, please send us your spirit, that we might be obedient and that we might do always those things that please you, as Messiah taught us. In the name of Messiah, YHWH, we pray. Amen. Okay. Before we get into our study, let's look at our scriptures, our 3 scriptures that we normally read on Sabbath morning. Now, Clifford is in Malaysia, so it's actually Saturday night, isn't it? It's actually Saturday night where you are, right? It's nighttime, so he has already had the Sabbath. But we're going to look at these scriptures today by the grace of the Most High. Let's look at Exodus chapter 31. Exodus chapter 31. Verses 12 to 18, Exodus chapter 31, verses 12 to 18. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of the Most High. Exodus 31, 12 to 18. Now we turn to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 through 10. Deuteronomy 30, 1 through 10, the chapter, which I call the chapter of our awakening. One of the many scriptures that talk about what is happening right now. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, where Yahweh thy Most High have driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Most High will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, where Yahweh thy Most High have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy Most High will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy most high will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy most high with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy most high will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy most high will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy most high, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law. And if thou turn unto Yahweh thy most high with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Praise the most high. Deuteronomy 31 through 10. Last but not least, the seventh trumpet, as revealed in the revelation of the Messiah. Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11, verses 15 to 19. Revelation chapter 11, verses 15 to 19. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of Yahweh and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders, which sat before Yahweh on their seats, fell upon their faces and worshipped Yahweh, saying, we give thee thanks, O Yahweh Al Shaddai, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Yahweh was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings, and voices, and thunderings, and an earthquake, and great hail. Praise the Most High for his word this morning. So, we have been studying Zechariah, and we are at the end of our study in the beautiful prophecy of Zechariah. I've decided, by the grace of the Most High, that after we finish this study, after we finish studying this prophecy of Zechariah, we're going to go into Hebrews and study Hebrews. We probably did study it in the past, but I don't remember recording it, as a series. And we're going to just, and of course, as years go by, we are learning more and more and more. Generally, at the end of every year, we do Revelation. We do the book of Revelation, but we're going to, and I'm not saying we're not going to do Revelation. We're probably going to do Revelation. I'm not sure if it's going to be after Hebrews or after the other prophets we study. It might be in the beginning of 2020. We'll do Revelation. We like to continue to do Revelation every year, or as much as we can, because we're always learning and growing. And it's always becoming a little clearer. Every time we do it, there's a little more clarity than there was the last time. So we'll eventually do Revelation. We do have, of course, Revelation from last year already completed in the website that Isha has completed for us. A beautiful website she has done. And it's already in there. The Revelation series is already there. I also want to let you know, with regard to the website, when you go to the Bible Studies tab, and you see the completed studies, like I just mentioned, Revelation. When you go into the Revelation series tab and you see the link, make sure you hit Control when you the Control tab when you hit Enter, because if you hit the Control tab when you hit Enter, it will open up a separate page and leave you, and still you'll have access to the website, while another page opens up with the list of all of the studies of Revelation on it. If you don't, it will take you into the YouTube channel where all of those studies are located, and you will be gone from the page, but you could come back. But I'm just trying to make it a little easier. So if you want to stay on the page while you see the studies, click the control tab and then hit enter on the link, and it will open a separate page for you. And then you can see the studies and you can see the page still at the same time. But the Revelation series is in there. So we talked last night. I want to show just some more about the character piece. No, you can't do it on your phone, Pandora. If you can't, obviously you can't do it on your phone. When you're on your phone, it's going to take you. You have to actually tab back or reopen the link if you reopen the page if you want to get another link. But if you go on the cell phone, you will see very clearly everything there. You will see the Bible studies clearly there. And when you click on the link for the Bible study, whichever one you want to do, it will take you to that YouTube channel with the listing of all of the studies done in order for that series, whether it's Revelation or Deuteronomy, which we've done, or Ezekiel, those will be there. And it will take you there. So on your phone, if you're interested in those studies, if you want to come back to the website, of course, you can use your memory from your link that you were on, go back in there and see it again, or you could just go back to the website itself. But I'm thinking on the laptop. Yeah, without the instructions. And thank you for asking about that. This is for the people that are looking at it on a desktop or a laptop. Okay. All right. So I want to just go through a couple of things before we hit, and as I said, Zechariah, particularly chapter 14, it covers a lot of space, and what it does is it uses most of the chapter to describe our life in the new kingdom. Okay, it doesn't go through a lot of the things that happen between now and when we're in the kingdom permanently, but it skips over many thousands of years, hundreds of years, and it spends most of its time in our experience that we're going to have in the kingdom. So before we get into that, I want to go over some things regarding the resurrection. I want to go over some things talking about what we talked about last night with regard to gold being tried in the fire. And if you recall, in fact, I want to go a little bit more into that character development a little bit, because brothers and sisters, character development is everything in terms of us being prepared for the kingdom. The Most High is not going to allow any person to be in the kingdom that's going to bring forth sin. Okay. And again, I just want to show you some of those scriptures because the Bible does say that in several places. Let's see. There's a few places. I'm just trying to decide which ones I want to use. I think I'm going to use Galatians in one of these, and then we're going to go into Revelation. Okay, here. Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5. And this is another misunderstood and misinterpreted scripture by the Christian community, unfortunately, but we praise Yah that our eyes are being opened and we can see the truth. In Galatians chapter 5, I'm going to begin with regard to what we're talking about here. I'm going to begin at verse 12. And I'm going to go down from verse 12 down to verse 21. From verse 12 down to verse 21. I would they were even cut off which trouble you, the apostle writes. For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now, the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. So the Christian community tries to tell us that for example, if you be led under of the Spirit, you're not under the law. All the laws fulfilled in this, what thou shalt love that. And they imply by these statements that Yah's law is done away with. I think you all have heard such sentiments, and maybe you've been involved at one point in a Christian community that taught such things. Isn't that correct? So it will say the law is fulfilled and you're not under the law, you're under grace. Now, we talked about this in Romans, but it's worth repeating. Whenever the apostle is talking about being under the law, think of it like this: the law is 2 tables of stone, right? Isn't that correct? Moses was given 2 tables of stone. If you are under the law, let's think of it as 2 big tables that crush you under its weight, under its wrath, under its condemnation, under its judgment. That's what it means. You understand? It's not saying you're not supposed to obey it. If you're obeying it, you're not under it. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you following me? So when what he's talking about there is you're not under its curse, its condemnation, if you're walking in the Spirit. Why? Because the Spirit that you're walking in, what is the Spirit? Is the Spirit the third person of the Trinity, as the Christian community teaches us? Is the Spirit the third person of the Trinity? What is the Spirit? I want one of y'all to say, because you should know by now. What is the third person of the Trinity? That's right. The Spirit is the Father's Spirit. It's Father's representation in our souls on this earth, in our consciousness. It comes through Messiah. Messiah is a perfect representation of the Father. And so therefore the Father's Spirit through Messiah comes to us, and it causes us to obey him. It causes us to receive as a gift righteousness, right? And that righteousness rests on us and cause us to walk in the way he wants us to walk. It becomes our conscious. It becomes part of our character. That's why he say, if you walk in the Spirit, ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Because every sin, listen carefully, just as the Father's righteousness comes in the form of a spirit, sin also moves in a spirit, but the spirit that the sin moves in is the spirit of our flesh, the fleshly desires that Satan tries to exploit in us. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? There's a spirit for everything. Okay? There's spirit of desire and envy and hatred. There's a spirit for everything. But when you're walking in the Father's Spirit, his Spirit now dominates all other spirits. And as long as we are seeking the Father's Spirit, he will give us power over our flesh. And so Satan will have a problem trying to exploit us through our fleshly desires and lusts. Does that make sense, brothers? Everybody follow? See how clear, how simple that is? It's not complicated. It's not complicated at all. And that's why he says, if you be led of the Spirit, that is the Father's Spirit of righteousness, you're not under the condemnation and curse of the law of Yah. Because with the Father's Spirit, you're now in perfect harmony with the law of Yah. Okay, you're becoming perfect harmony. And that's why, see, if it was as they are saying, these things he's talking about, adultery, that's part of the commandments, isn't it? Adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery. All right. Idolatry, that's the first one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? Murders, thou shalt not kill. See? He said, they that practice these things shall not inherit the kingdom. Ye shall not inherit the kingdom. Okay? So he is admonishing the Galatian converts to the Hebrew Messiah to receive the Father's Spirit and be free. What's the liberty that you're in? That means, brothers and sisters, a person that is filled with the Father's Spirit can be in any situation that the Father places them in and not be overcome by the situation. That's freedom. To be free from the power of sin. To be free from man-made rules and regulations that will bog you down. To be free from man-made religion. Testing 1, 2, 3. So we're not under condemnation. We're not under man-made religion, Pharisees, Sadducees, denominations of Christianity, or anything else. We are guided by perfect righteousness of the Father. It's represented in Messiah and in his word. And that Spirit brings it for us. Praise the Most High God. Okay. So now these character traits that the apostle described, and also, of course, we've already seen, let's look at another place, Revelation chapter 20, Revelation chapter 21, Revelation chapter 21, verse 7 and 8, Revelation chapter 21, verse 7 and 8, just for a second witness of the same thing. Revelation 21, verse 7 and 8. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his most high, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. The lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Fearful, unbelieving, abominable, mercy. And we already saw the other acts that the apostle listed in Galatians. These all represent people that are not under the control, not surrendered themselves to the Father's Spirit of righteousness. That's what this is. It's very simple. Brothers and sisters, when the person is not surrendered to the Father's Spirit, they are prone to this all kinds of spirits to cause them to do all kinds of things depending on their own character. And so what is being described here, and in the last text we saw, are individuals who refuse to follow the truth of the Father's Spirit of righteousness, who refuse to be surrendered to his Spirit. Therefore, they are given over to a satanic spirit. You're going to serve one or the other. You can't be independent of both spirits. There's no way. There's no way, okay? There's no shot. You're going to be under one spirit or another. And all of us have to decide what spirit we want to be under. Okay? And that's why on a daily basis, we bow our knees and we seek the Father's righteousness every day, because that's the spirit we want to be under the control of. We don't want to be under control of any other spirit. We don't want to see, brothers and sisters, people are deceived. That's why some people don't believe Satan exists. Some people don't believe the Creator exists. And they think that they can just make their own choices, and they don't realize they're being led. People are being led. They just don't realize. And some people even try to acknowledge they're being led, and they call it the universe. The universe is leading me. Have you ever heard people say that? Because they know something is leading them. But they refuse white Jesus, and they refuse Allah, and they refuse Christianity. And so they say the universe is leading them because they know something is leading. And that's the thing, brothers and sisters. There's a spirit leading every person, or a force. That's right. That's correct. There's a spirit leading every person. The only question is the spirit leading you? Are you conscious of it? Which many people are not. And if you are, what spirit is it? Is it a spirit of righteousness, or is it a spirit of deception? Because if it's a spirit of righteousness, you're going to be obedient to the Father's law. You're not going to try to make your own. See, when you try to make your own law, or you try to declare it done away with, that's a different spirit. That's a satanic spirit that wants to do away with the Father's law. That's a satanic spirit. Because Satan, Satan, hates the Father. He hates the Father's Spirit. He hates Messiah. He hates righteousness. The Bible calls him the enemy of all righteousness. And he wants man to think that man himself can be a God. That's what he wants. Now, Laodicea received the warning The seventh church, which is the church that will exist once the plagues fall. The seventh church, right before the plagues fall, receive a warning from the people of the sixth church, Philadelphia. Out of Philadelphia come the 144,000, and they bring forth a message that is given to the seventh church. And notice in Laodicea, I want you to see what Messiah says to Laodicea in Revelation chapter 3. Revelation chapter 3, we're going to begin at verse 14 and go down to verse 18 for now. We'll probably read the rest of it, but we're going to start at verse 14 and go down to verse 18. 144,000 come out of Philadelphia, and they'll be given a message to Laodicea. And Laodicea will get that warning. That's part of Revelation chapter 18. And the warning is a call that's made to Yah's chosen people that are still in Laodicea, still in Babylon, to come out from there. And this call is going to be in the form of a straight testimony of the character of the people in Laodicea, a straight testimony, a straight witness. See, brothers and sisters, not a watered down witness, not a nice witness in terms of the people that's going to be hearing it, but a straight witness that tells the straight truth of the situation. Notice what it says, and unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans, right? These things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of Yahweh. By the way, just want to make y'all know, the Jehovah's Witnesses try to claim that this word beginning, and they do it, they're purposely deceiving people. At least they used to do that. They still purposely deceive people, but they used to use this and say, see, Messiah was created by Jehovah. He's the beginning of the creation. When you look up the word beginning, it is the origin. Messiah is the origin of all of Yah's creation. In other words, the Most High Father has appointed Messiah to be in representing him in the creation of things. Okay, that's completely different. But let's continue. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. We talked about this, but I want to make sure we see this. And anoint thy eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. He said in the previous verse, you're miserable, wretched, poor, blind, and naked. A person can have clothes on and in the eyes of the Most High be naked. Why is that? Because the Most High will not favorably look upon anybody that is in sin. And so if you're in sin and you're not covered in his righteousness, you are naked. If you're covered in his righteousness, you are clothed. Okay? So he say they're naked because they don't have his righteousness. They blind because they can't see the truth, right? They're poor because they look at material things as wealth and not spiritual. They're miserable, which is their condition as Asatan is in control of their life, and wretched, raggedy. So in order to fix this situation, he says, I want you to buy stuff from me. I need you to purchase some gold and some white raiment, and I want you to get some eye salve. All of these things, brothers and sisters, every last one of them comes through Messiah in the form of the Father's Spirit of righteousness. Everything that he just named there. And they do different things. Notice again, of course, the righteousness of the robe, the clothes, it covers our nakedness, correct? It covers our nakedness. And we saw this already in Zechariah chapter 3. If you recall, Zechariah chapter 3, in the early part of our study of this powerful prophecy, Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah chapter 3, verse 3, 4, and 5. Zechariah chapter 3, verse 3, 4, and 5. Now, Joshua was clothed with filthy garments, naked before the Father, and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with the change of raiment. And I said, let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head and clothed him with garments. And the angel of Yahweh stood by. So they took away the nakedness from him in the form of those filthy garments, and they covered him with perfect righteousness from the Father. And then he said, I've caused your iniquity to pass from thee. See? Now, since he was a priest, Zechariah spoke up and said, put a fair mitre on his head. What is that? Exodus chapter 28. Exodus chapter 28. Watch this now. Pay close attention. Exodus chapter 28. And we're looking for, what are we looking for? Exodus chapter 28. We're looking for verse 36 to 38. Exodus chapter 28 from verses 36 to 38. Notice what it says here about the mitre. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold. Remember, Messiah said, purchase pure gold, right? Engrave upon it like the engravings of a signet, holiness to Yahweh. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, blue representing the law of Yah, that it may be upon the mitre. There it is. Upon the forefront of the mitre. That's the part that's over the forehead. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, and that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before Yahweh. Holiness unto Yahweh on the forehead. Let's let that sink in for a minute. Holiness to Yahweh on the forehead. Hey, let me ask you all a question. Where are we being sealed for the Most High again? Where does he seal us again? On the forehead. Holiness to Yahweh on the forehead. That means completely given over to the glory of Yah. Completely given over to his glory. Covered in his righteousness, and your mind is completely given to his righteousness. As Messiah taught us, you want to always do those things that please him by his Spirit. So Messiah is giving the message to the 144,000 for them to give it to the last church on the earth, the last group of religious people on the earth. And he's saying, come out of her. Remember, these are 7 churches for the Hebrews. Okay, let's go back to Revelation chapter 3. These are 7 Hebrew churches that follow the Hebrew Messiah. These are not Christian churches. Some people believe there's Christian churches. No. See, what we've been, let me just stop right here for a second. Go back to Revelation chapter 3. Listen carefully. What religionists today will talk to you and say to you is that there's Judaism, and they'll say to you that, the Jews left Judaism and became Christians because of Jesus. That's what they'll tell you. The Jews left Judaism and became Christians because of Jesus. Now, I dare any person, I defy anybody in the King James Bible, please tell me someplace where there's a religion called Christianity. Please find me another place where there's a religion called Judaism. Could you please find that for me? Because I've read this Bible through multiple times and I've never seen that. You know why I've never seen it? Because it doesn't exist there. Christianity and Judaism are 2 religions that came out of Rome. They're man-made religions controlled by Rome through the Jesuit order. Islam also. Okay, all 3 of them. So they're not there. So they create these 2 man-made religions, then they try to put them in the Bible and try to tell you these are the religions. See, so they left this man-made one and came to this man-made one because of the man-made white Jesus that we just made up. That's the truth. But the truth of the situation is that these 7 churches represent converted Hebrews that came to the Hebrew Messiah of the tribe of Judah, which is mentioned in the scriptures of Revelation. The Lion of the tribe of Judah. Isn't that what they call him in Revelation? The Lion of the tribe of Judah is what they told him. Nobody can open the book but the Lion of the tribe of Judah. If he was just a Christian, why would they have to mention all of that? And why is it, when he talk about Armageddon, he said it's in the Hebrew tongue. Armageddon. Why did he say that? Why didn't he say it's in the Greek or English if it's going to be Christianity? Why didn't he say that? It's called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. No, brothers and sisters. No, these are seven churches. So this seventh church, the call is being made for the leftover people that haven't come out yet. That's what the Revelation 18 says, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins of Laodicea, that ye receive not her plagues. Laodicea as a group is a lost church. Lost. Only a few remnant from there will escape. See, there's going to be people that come at the end, but it's not going to be nowhere near a majority of people. The power of the 144,000 is going to come forth on the earth as a witness to the earth of the righteousness of Yah and what's about to happen. And you're going to get a remnant of the people that come out from among them. And they're going to answer this call that's given here in Revelation chapter 3. Notice again, Revelation chapter 3. So he's giving them a straight testimony about their true condition. Now, you and I, if you've been involved in a Christian atmosphere, if you've been involved in the atmosphere of Christian community, you know very well Christians do not like straight truth. I'm just being honest, and you could bear witness. You know very well, you step in front of a Christian church and you speak straight truth about the condition of the people, you will be banished from that church. There's no question about it. They want you to give something smooth, like the Bible, something smooth, something easy on the ears, something that don't bother them too much, so they can get up and say, "Oh, that was a nice message. Oh, he had a good speech." But you come in there with the spirit of the Most High Yah. I've done it. I know people, some of the people know me and have seen me bring it like that. And they be like, "Man, I didn't like the anger. Oh, man, I didn't like the way he brought that. Oh, man, that was too hard. That scared me." That's how people in Christianity receive truth. That's exactly right. The convicting power of righteousness is anathema to them. It's anathema. That means it's opposite of what they want. That's why only a few are going to receive this message. This message of Laodicea is a straight testimony. Messiah is given through the Spirit, by his Spirit of the Father, that he's given to the 144,000. They're given a straight testimony as the true condition of the religions of this earth and of his people that are mixed up with the heathen right now. Come out of her, my people. Revelation chapter 3. Let's watch this. Let's start again at verse 17. Now, this time, let's go down to verse 21. Revelation chapter 3 from verse 17 down to verse 21. Notice he said, "I'm going to spew out of my mouth." I want to tell you something. Laodicea is the only church that he didn't say, "I'm going to save you if you do this." He didn't say that. He said it to every other church, even Thyatira, where Rome said, he said, "I'm not going to put no other burden on you. If you do this, I'm going to receive you, blah, blah." He didn't say that to any other church. In other words, he didn't say, "I might spew you out. If you don't do this, I'm going to spew you out. Y'all make me sick." At the end, the people at the end that are in these religious circles, even Hebrew Israelites by blood, are going to make him sick because they rather have the fake religions of this world than the truth of the Father's Spirit of righteousness. That's the truth about it. Revelation chapter 3, verses 17 down to verse 21. Notice what it says. "Because thou sayest, I am rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing, and knowest that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. And anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne." Yeah, you'll be part of the kingdom if you come out of that. But he said, "I stand at the door and knock." And I like to point this out every time I read this and I teach this here area of Revelation. I like to point this out. I want you to notice he's standing and knocking. if I am at the door knocking, am I inside the house? If I'm knocking at the door, am I inside the house or no, he's outside? You understand? He's not inside. He's not present inside. He's outside. And he says, if a person answers the door for me, that means you're receiving my counsel to my goal. I'm going to come and eat with that individual. That's what he said. I'm gonna come sit down with that individual. I'm gonna take you individually because your church is lost. The crew at the end is lost. And why are they lost? Remember, at the end, brothers and sisters, we will not be able to buy or sell. We will not be able to buy or sell. It'll be like this. Can you imagine? Think about this. You live in any place that's called civilization, right? When you get up and you decide, I need a bottle of milk. You know very well you can go to a local store and you know 100% of the time you're going to walk in there and you're going to find milk, right? I need a loaf of bread. I need a dozen eggs. You're going to walk in there and you know it's there. You know it's there. You don't even think twice about it, right? The only thing you're thinking about is what you need from the store, from the supermarket, right? Because you just know in your mind, whatever I'm thinking about was eggs or milk or bread or cereal or wine, whatever I want, it's going to be there. And matter of fact, it's so sure going to be there. You go to pay for it. What the cashier say? Did you find everything you want? Were you able to find what you want? Because they want to make sure that everything you desire is there, right? Were you able to find, ma'am, sir? Were you able to find everything you wanted? And if you say no, what was it you couldn't find? And they'll send somebody. Oh, it's in aisle such and such and such and such. Oh, we're sorry. We're going to make sure we have it next time. Well, imagine if for 1 week, just 1 week, these trucks that bring all that food stopped rolling. Imagine for 1 week if there was nothing in the stores because the trucks stopped bringing it. What would happen in every area where there's supermarkets? That's right. It would become total chaos. People be stealing from each other. People be robbing each other. Just 1 week. I'm not even talking about a month or 2 or 3 months. I'm talking about 1 week. 1 week. You ever have a storm coming your way, a snowstorm or a tropical storm or a hurricane, and they tell you to get ready because you don't know how long your power's going to be out? You go in the store too late, you ain't going to find nothing in there because everybody is stocked up, right? You ain't going to find nothing in there. Well, brothers and sisters, that is why when they stop us from buying and selling, it'll be just like the store is empty to us because we won't be able to get anything in there, except we won't be in chaos. We'll be trusting the Father. And the people that are receiving the market of beast, they're going to think they got everything. They got increased with goods. They don't need nothing. We all messed up because we're not involved with their church systems of this world, and we're not getting anything. We're not able to buy anything, but we trust in the Father. See, you got to learn to trust him now. You can't trust him at the last minute. If you don't know to trust him now, you ain't gonna be able to, unless you have an experience with the Father, you're not gonna be all of a sudden ready to trust him, especially now when his spirit stops striving with your heart because you done refused his truth for so many years. And that you don't want the conviction because it's too hard, because it doesn't sound nice. But we who are now trusting in the Father's spirit of righteousness to be obedient to him, to bring him the honor and the glory, we'll receive that gold. We'll receive that raiment. And when they take away all our stuff, we'll still be rich. Why? Because we will have the Father's spirit. Brothers and sisters, he can set a table in the wilderness. We know that. He can set a table in the wilderness. He can bring water out of a rock. He can rain bread from heaven. We know he could do that. Why? Because we have read it in his word. And we know our Father is not a liar. He's not a liar. He can set a table in the wilderness. We don't worry about that. He can cause our clothes to not stink. He can cause our feet to not swell up. Okay? He can cause us to walk through the wilderness and look like we just living comfortably. Because he did it for our fathers for 40 years. We're not going to have to wait that long. Believe me. It's not going to be anywhere near no 40 years. Might be 3.5 on the outside. 3.5 on the outside. Okay? And he can surely provide for us that way. That's right. We trust him now. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be just like our fathers were. They're going to be in the wilderness, and he's not going to give them water every time they think about water. Remember? They started whining. Where's the water at? We don't have no water. And they start murmuring and complaining. The Father provide water from the rock. Where the flesh at? We want some flesh. Can you provide it? He gave them fowls to eat. But we're not going to be whining and complaining like that. Because that's why the Bible we read earlier where he said he's going to rejoice and bless us above our fathers. Because we're not going to act like our fathers did. Because of his spirit. Because of the anointing he's putting on us. We're not going to act like that. You know, one day, we were fortunate, my wife and I. I think every parent on this earth, there's no book you can read aside from the Bible to teach you how to be a good parent. Every parent makes mistakes. Every parent makes mistakes. Okay. And sometimes people hold it against a person when they make mistakes. Listen, ain't no such thing as a parent that ain't made a mistake. Everybody does. Everybody makes mistakes as a parent, right? We all do it. We all make mistakes as parents. But most of us want what's right, what's good for our children, right? So we were fortunate. My wife was convicted when we had ours. We had one grown one. Well, he was actually 10. No, he was 11 when my second child was born. My oldest one was 11. And then they seemed to come like bullets. There were 3 of them coming in within 4 years. We had 3 more. So we had 4 altogether. And we were fortunate. We were in the SDA church, I told you before, and we were faithful attendees. But my wife was convicted that she didn't, for the first 2-3 years of the children's life, she did not go to church. She stayed home because she was breastfeeding. She was full-time at home, and we were Hebrews, we were, so-called African Americans. It's harder for African Americans to have the wife stay home than it is for the Caucasians to do it because they make more money than us generally. So we struggle, but we didn't mind that because we wanted the kids to be home with mama, right? So, and she wanted that too. So she would not be in church, and she would not go out a lot. I would take the kids when they got old enough to walk. I would take them with me to church and then leave church early to come home and have them change their clothes. And we'd go walking through the woods. We go find ourselves a state forest and we just go exploring. And they loved that. We just go exploring, right? So my kids being home with the mother, she wasn't playing. My wife is Puerto Rican from the Bronx. She wasn't having no spoiled children. She wasn't having it. So our children knew how to act. We did not bring them out to stores and stuff until we knew they knew how to behave. So by the time they were all like 3 years old or older, I could take them to a restaurant and they would just sit quietly and wait for the waitress or waiter. Just wait. And then when the food, even if it took long, they would just wait. They wouldn't touch nothing until their food came out. They'd be quiet. One day I took them to a restaurant. And there was a woman across from us that had 3 children, about the same age as mine. I think at that time, the younger 3, my oldest one was already 18. So the youngest one, the oldest of the rest of them was like 7. So it was like 7, 6, and 3 or something like that. So I had them in the restaurant, and she had 3 of her little brats over there, 7, 6, and 3, about the same age. Now hers was jumping on the top of the table. And when their food didn't come out the way they wanted it, or at the time they wanted, they was yelling and screaming. And she was like, I don't know what to do. And my kids just sat there. My kids looked over and was wondering what was wrong with her kids because they just never thought to act like that. Never thought to act like that. You understand? Never crossed their mind to trip out like that. Well, they knew better because their mama taught them at home and use some discipline so that they knew that don't come in and come into the line. Mama, can I have this candy? And she say no, and they start to tripping, right? The kids start to tripping. Mama, I don't know what to do. My kids never did that. Now, I'm not saying my kids was angels now, but they never did. No, never. They never. Daddy, no, not this time. Not this time. No, that's not good for you. Okay, and they only asked once. I said no, done. Okay, done. So that's how we're going to be. See, when we are tossed into the wilderness, we're tossed out of our houses, our apartments. We don't have any money. We're going to be calm and cool. Not because we're disciplined, or if we are, it's because of the Father's righteousness, because we know to trust him. And yeah, we're not going to get food and water every time we want it. We're not going to starve to death. We're not going to starve to death. All right. But it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be comfortable. But when the wicked start getting them plagues falling on them, see, they're going to be all smug at first, all smug, have need of nothing. Increased with goods. But when them plagues start to fall, you're going to see real chaos because they're not used to trusting the Father. They're not used to trusting. So the character development that we are going through now is going to continue until that time. We're being prepared for that time. Not me nor you really understand what it's going to be like until we're in it. Okay? I'm trying to describe it to you, but I'm not describing. I'm not doing a good job. I'm just telling you, we don't really understand until we're in it. And you want to get a taste of it, go out to the woods somewhere with nothing and see how you feel. And think about staying out there extended times with nothing, no food, no water. You didn't bring no tent, nothing. Just you and your coat and what you got on. And and just think about it for a second. We used to do that, go out there and say, whoa, man, we're going to be out here. We're going to be out here like this. It's a little bit scary. See, it's a little bit. Because you don't know where the meal's coming from. You don't know where the water's coming. You know it's going to come, but you don't know when. So you got to wait. Right? Praise Yah. He has promised to take care of us. We have to trust him. We have promised in the covenant to trust him. When you say you're entering into covenant, when you get baptized, and those of you know, when you get baptized, you're promising to no longer your life belongs to you, belongs to Yah. And when you're saying that, what you're saying is, I promise to trust you. I promise to trust you. That's your promise to the Most High. I promise to trust you. And that's what it's all about. When you enter into covenant with Yah, when you're obedient to him because you're promising to trust him. You're promising to trust his spirit that he's going to give you to provide for what you need, to guide your steps in the way you should go. You're promising to trust him. So now we have seen the character development part. Now I'd like to go into just the two resurrections that the Bible talks about, the two resurrections that the Bible talks about. Let's get a couple of witnesses for the two resurrections that the Bible talks about, okay? Let's first, Gospel of John, Gospel of John, Gospel of John chapter 5, Gospel of John chapter 5, and we're going to get a few witnesses for this. Yes, the same thing. Exactly. That's why the 144,000 are what? The bride of the Messiah. They're the bride of the Messiah. That's why what's written on them? New Jerusalem, Messiah's name, Yahweh our righteousness, and the Father's name, Yah. It's written on them. Because they, of all people, trust in him and wait on him, even unto death. That's about what it's coming to. Okay, let's look at Gospel of John chapter 5, beginning at verse 19 and go down to verse 30. From verse 19 to verse 30, this is talking about the two resurrections. Let's look at this here. Then answered YHWH and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do, for what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. See, he doesn't do anything on his own. Everything Messiah did was at the instruction and teaching of the Father. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth. And he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. For as the Father raises up the dead and quickeneth them, even so the Son quickeneth whom he will. For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth not the Son honoreth not the Father which hath sent him. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me, that means you hear the word of the Messiah and you believe on your Father, hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death to life. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Yahweh, and they that hear shall live. For as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself, and hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in which all, listen, in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth. They that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge. And my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father, which have sent me. You can't say it no better than that. See, you can't say it no better than that. This is, Messiah is giving us, not only is he showing us his own relationship with the Father, he's giving us a lesson, a class on what our relationship with the Father should be. You see, he said, I can of my own self do nothing. I don't seek my own will, but the will of the Father, which have sent me. That's the same with us. When Messiah convicts us by the Father's Spirit, and we confess our sins in Messiah's name to the Father, he now brings forth a spirit in us that causes us to want to do the Father's will, not ours. We don't want to be seen. We want the Father to be seen. We want his righteousness and his glory to be given. Praise Yah. See, he taught us this, but he talked about two resurrections. Resurrection of life and the resurrection of damnation. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 24. Now, he's talking about what's going to happen to the wicked in Isaiah chapter 24, and he talks about being visited after many days. Watch this, Isaiah chapter 24, talking about the condition of the earth as the Messiah is going to return. Notice again, let's see. Let's start at verse 17 and go down to verse 23. Isaiah 24 from verse 17 to verse 23. Notice what it says. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitants of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh will punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be darkened, and the sun ashamed, when Yahweh of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his ancients gloriously. When he talks about many days being visited, that's the second resurrection. Let's take a look again. Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. From verse 1 down to verse 6, Revelation chapter, actually 1 to 7. 1 to 8. Revelation chapter 20, 1 to 8. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and the chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of YHWH, and for the word of Yah, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. and they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Yahweh and of Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, our Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. See, two resurrections. The first one is for the righteous, the resurrection of life that Messiah referenced. The second one is for the wicked, resurrection of damnation, two resurrections. Okay. Those that do the Father's will in the first resurrection. Those that do not do the Father's will, that reject his truth and his spirit, in the second resurrection. Those that do the Father's will in the first resurrection, those that do not in the second resurrection. The resurrections are 1,000 years apart. That's why this earth we know is coming 6,000 years, and then there's another 1,000 years, which represent the 7,000 years, right? Completeness. 6 days, then there's the seventh day of the Sabbath. 6,000 years, then there's the 1,000 years of the reign of Messiah in the kingdom. And at the end of that 7,000 years, all sin and sinners and devil will be destroyed forever, never to rise, never to come back again, never to exist anymore. Praise the Most High Yah. So now we have the two resurrections, 1,000 years apart. And so now let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. And you're going to see these two resurrections, but they're very subtle here in Zechariah. Very subtle, so that you won't recognize it. We saw the first one actually last night, and let's start there. In Zechariah chapter 14, let's go for verse 3, 4, and 5. Zechariah chapter 14, 3, 4, and 5. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the rest, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall flee unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And Yahweh, my Most High, shall come, and all the saints with thee. And it shall come. Oh, let me stop right there. Okay, first resurrection right there. First resurrection. Okay, y'all got that? First resurrection. There it is right there. Then in the second part after that is the second resurrection. Okay, and here's the second one. Okay, notice again. Zechariah chapter 14. Let's begin at verse 6 and go down to verse 11. Zechariah 14 from verse 6 through 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahweh, not day nor night. But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea and half of them toward the hinder sea. In the summer and winter it shall be. Sorry, let me back up for a second. This is still first resurrection, by the way. I'm sorry. This is the 1,000-year reign right here. And Yahweh shall be king over all the earth in that day, and there shall be one Yahweh, and his name one. And all the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananiel unto the king's wine presses. And men shall dwell in it. And there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. Okay, all of this is the first resurrection. Let me correct myself before I mess up here. This is the first resurrection. So you can see here, Messiah will return. He will reign on the earth. There'll be 1,000-year reign, right? There it is right there. Y'all see that? Testing 1, 2, 3. And then notice what he said, the land shall be turned as a plain. In other words, when it says turned, it means turned into. So he's going to heal Because remember now, when Messiah comes the first time, be a lot of death, a lot of dead bodies, a lot of destruction on the earth. It's going to be in shambles when he returns, okay? In shambles. So he's going to, of course, we're going to all build and clean all of that. And he's going to be turned into, what the Bible calls new heaven, new earth. All right? That makes sense, brothers and sisters? New heaven, new earth. But now, the second one. Here's the second resurrection. Here's the second one, beginning at verse 12. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. Verse 12. Let's just do verse 12. Watch this. And this shall be the plague with Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. That's very familiar. Watch this. Let's look at Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. Let's start again at verse 7 and go to verse 9. Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 to 9. Compare it to what we just read in Zechariah 14, verse 12. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Watch verse 9. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. And fire came down from Yahweh out of heaven and devoured them. See, notice again, Zechariah said they shall consume away while they stand on their feet. They shall consume away, their tongue shall consume away. That's the fire that's going to come upon them. Everybody see that? So now you got first resurrection, 1,000 years of reign. You got second resurrection and the consuming fire that's going to destroy all of them. The first resurrection, we're going to destroy them. Messiah is going to destroy them, as we read in Revelation chapter 19. Let's look again, Revelation chapter 19. This is the first resurrection, Revelation chapter 19. Let's start at verse 11, and let's go from verse 11 down to verse 19. I'm going to read the last two verses also, but let's go from verse 11 to verse 19. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he does judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Al Shaddai. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great Most High, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. This is the first resurrection. So in the first resurrection, the resurrection of the righteous, all of those, both Hebrews and converted Gentiles, are going to come to the truth, into the Messiah's kingdom. The people that are left are going to, once they recover themselves from the initial shock of the destruction that came on planet Earth with the power of the return of the Messiah, they're going to recover themselves and realize, and Satan will be leading them, and they're going to realize we only have one hope. We have to take the city. We have to destroy it. And so led by the beast and the false prophet and the dragon, that's what it is. Because now remember, check this out. Picture this scene now. You got the Roman church leaders, the Christianity leaders, the leaders of the apostate Protestants and Judaism and Islam that are unsaved. And then you're going to have the dragon who is now, he's looking like Messiah. And he's going to say, that's my city. They stole it from me. We need to take it. We need to take it back. Our survival depends on it. You are my people. Take it. We got to take that city. And they're going to come. and they're going to be taken. And that's why Revelation 20 comes in here when he said the angel, what did he say? He said he had the key to bottomless pit. He laid hold on the dragon. So he was taken, the beast was taken, and the false prophet was taken. The dragon is placed in a grave. That's what a pit is. A pit is a grave. He's placed in a grave and he's shut up for 1,000 years. The other two are placed in the lake of fire. Okay? Placed in the lake of fire. And let's look at verse 20 and 21, Revelation chapter 19, verse 20 and 21. And the beast was taken, see? And with him the false prophet, all these religious leaders that have deceived the people of the earth, the ones that we're seeing right now. The false prophet that wrought miracles before him, which he deceived them that have received the mark of the beast and them that have worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire and burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with the flesh. Remember what Messiah said in Matthew 24, we studied this last night, where the carcass is, there will the vultures be gathered together, right? Because they're going to be destroyed. And we also know from Ezekiel chapter 39, as well as Jeremiah chapter 51, that the servants are going to be out there doing business as well. Okay, doing business as well. So that's the first resurrection, and then of course, you got the second one, which starts at Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 12. Does that make sense? Everybody, I know we did a lot. We're going to take a break right now, but everybody got me so far? There's a lot here. There's a lot here. Let's have a word of prayer. We'll stop, take a break, and then we'll come back. Let's stop right here for a moment. And we'll do the third part.